After my recent rant about how exhausted I was by franchises, I decided to give myself a palate cleanser and go and see Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser. And I'm very glad I did. But I found myself crushed by the sheer weight of what I'd just seen. And no, I'm not talking about Brendan Fraser's character. The Whale is about Charlie, played by Fraser, a lonely shut-in who spends his days teaching online composition courses and eating himself to death. Years ago, his lover committed suicide, and in a fit of depression and self-hatred, he turned to food and never stopped. Now he's reached such gargantuan proportions that merely getting to the bathroom is a herculean task. His only friend is Liz, his best friend and nurse. When faced with a terminal diagnosis, he reaches out to his estranged daughter Ellie to make one last attempt to connect before he dies. Ellie only agrees to spend time with him if he helps her cheat on her homework and pays her. So sets the stage for a bleak yet moving film about love, loss, pain, and redemption that at times is extremely hard to watch. Now, The Whale isn't hard to watch because it's bad. Far from it. The set design, the story, and especially the acting are all excellent. But the sheer misery on display becomes so oppressive that it weighs on the soul, which I suppose is the point. A movie like this, you don't go in expecting to see Muppets dancing around and singing, "I can be your friend." But in this world, there are no rays of sunshine and no good or happy people. Everyone is miserable. Literally everyone. Every single person who appears on screen is depressed, self-hating, or loathsome to the point that you have to wonder if Samuel Hunter, the author of the original play, has ever even heard of flowers. Well, hey, I can see why Charlie would be this way. He is a broken man with a life of regrets who blames himself for his lover's demise. And I can see why his long-suffering friend Liz would be so bitter. Charlie's daughter, played with a nearly psychotic edge by Sadie Sink, would obviously be resentful and distrust relationships, to the point that she'd hatefully push everyone away lest she grow close to anyone and be abandoned yet again. These people have armored themselves with cynicism and self-loathing to keep from facing the possibility of hope or joy, and that is understandable. But the movie chooses to believe that there is no happiness anywhere in the world and that all joy is doomed to die. Now, does this mean the movie is bad? Not at all! To begin with, the writing is excellent, for the most part. These characters are fully believable, even if Sadie Sink's Ellie dips a little too far into sadistic territory from time to time. This is not the kind of kid you want to leave alone with your pets. But you can fully understand where these people come from and how they got to this point in their lives. The set design is superior, and Charlie's apartment doesn't come across as a farcical hoarder squalor, but as the reality of what the home of a man in his psychological and physical conditions would be. Odd candy wrappers and crumbs litter the tabletops and floor, his bathroom is just grimy enough to be realistic, and you can feel the sweat and shame on the couch covers and the sheets. The prosthetics for Fraser are even better, shifting, sagging, sweating, and bleeding so realistically that you feel in need of a shower as he groans and perspires through his sad life. And the acting, oh my goodness, the acting! This entire movie, in spite of a slightly overwrought screenplay, is absolutely carried on the shoulders of these actors, especially Fraser. If Brendan Fraser doesn't come away with the Oscar for this film, then he was robbed. Fraser here is vulnerable and powerful beyond measure. This is a man whose gifts have for far too long been gone from the silver screen, and now that he is back, he brings a gift so rare among actors in Hollywood now. An actor so brilliant that you forget you are watching an actor and believe totally that he is the man before you. Sadie Sink is so good that I have to wonder at the choice to submit Hong Chau, who plays Liz, for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. Well, sure, Chau was really good, but it's Sink who has more to work with and delivers the better performance. The only element that keeps the film from being truly great is some of the dialogue, which feels ported directly from the original stage play, and some seemingly indifferent directing by Aronofsky. You see, on a stage, you have limited scope and tools, or at least some directors think so, and you have to do more telling than showing. Words and the execution of those words by the players is paramount. But a movie has different tools at its disposal, and while many of these cinematic tools are wonderfully utilized in The Whale, the dialogue still felt stunted, repetitive, burdened by a lack of imagination, and a lack of being willing to move beyond the stage and into a larger playing field. Entire conversations are repeated, phrases carried over again and again, as if the writer forgot that the characters who were hearing them were there the last time they were said, sometimes in the same scene. While at times I found myself drawn in by the dialogue and how true and real the film was, there were other moments where all I could think was, no one in human history has ever had a conversation like this. These are the types of overdrawn dramatic chats that only happen on a stage. An odd bit that I noticed was that the one character who has a belief in a higher power, the cultist missionary, is, and slight spoiler, he's the only one who gets a truly happy ending by the end of the film, in spite of the constant berating lobbed at him at every turn about how empty his faith is. I don't think the writer realized this, but when the only person who gets a happily ever after with his family in the exact way he'd been preaching the entire film is the one person whose faith has been belittled as meaningless, well, I think the author may have undercut his own message there a bit. But the brilliant acting made me forget about the sluggish expositing and made me care for the people saying it. The Whale is not a great movie, but it only misses the mark by inches. That's such a tragedy. It is a film carried by the actors, and against all odds, this movie made me feel something in my cynical cold heart. I'm just not sure it's the sort of feeling many regular audiences could handle. As an aside, I know I promised another She-Hulk versus video, but due to technical difficulties, I've lost hours of work. All my research, writing, and editing is gone, never to be seen again, and I have to start from scratch. I'm not even sure now if I want to do that video or not, but I'd like to know your thoughts about that and about The Whale. So please leave your comments below, and if you like this review, please like, subscribe, and until next time, happy viewing!